Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
We say good morning to Peter Edwards with a film review. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Nigel.
Lost in Paris. I could go to that film. I could get lost in Paris any day. It's a lovely spot, isn't it?
It's a lovely city.
You been there?
I did. I went there many years ago. I'm ex-military, and I was in Germany.
Right.
And we bought a Renault. And rather than having it delivered into Germany, we decided that we would take the train into Paris, have a long weekend there, and pick up the car on the Monday morning and drive it back to Germany, and we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves.
Right. Well, that's the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, did it relate to anything to the film you saw last night?
A little bit. This is supposed to be a comedy.
Right.
But it's co-directed, it's co-written and co-starred by a couple, Fiona Gordon, I'll just have to read off my notes here, yes. Dominique Abel. As I say, they both appear as principal characters. But I say it's a comedy, but it was sort of more like a farce, and in some cases it ended up as slapstick. Right. And in some ways it reminded me of, I don't know if you remember the old films with a chap called Brian Rix.
No.
No, well, he was the king of farce, and there's some of the films that he did which sort of deteriorated and everyone ended up rolling around in the aisles. This, in some ways, reminded me of that.
Right. So a bit of humour in it.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Oh, good.
Well, Fiona Gordon, now she plays Fiona, strangely enough, and she's a librarian who's living in Canada. And the film begins in a snowy village, and Fiona's aunt, Martha, tells her that she's going to live in Paris. And then it cuts straight into the film, and it then shows you Fiona as her librarian in Canada, and she receives this letter from Aunt Martha. It's about 40-odd years later.
Wow.
And she wants help.
Yes.
Because she's going to be turfed out of her flat, and they're sending her away to live in an old-age retirement village because they don't think she can look after herself anymore. Well, Fiona rushes off to Paris to help her, and that's where you first start getting the farcical elements, because she's got this huge red backpack on with a Canadian flag hanging off the top. Yes, yes. And she tries to go through the ticket barrier in the Paris metro and gets stuck.
Imagine it.
That's just a start of a 10.
Yes.
But then she tries to find her Aunt Martha, but she's done a runner. She's trying to hide from all the authorities and this nurse who keeps going in and out trying to find her in her flat, but she's disappearing. But what they say, they're trying to incarcerate her in this home. But what happens after that is mostly incidental in the search for Aunt Martha, because Fiona can't find her either. But Aunt Martha appears regularly, but she never appears to meet up with her niece. First of all, Fiona poses on a bridge for a photograph of the Eiffel Tower, and she ends up falling backwards off the bridge into the water.
Oh, my goodness.
And she loses her backpack.
Yes.
And with it goes her phone, her passport, all her money. And she's left bereft and can't do anything. She meets this chap, Dom, who's played by her co-writer, co-director, who, the best way I can describe him is a sort of an upper-class tramp who lives in a pup tent on the banks of the River Seine. So funny, some of the things that are happening. But he finds her backpack and ends up wearing some of her clothes, spending all her money, and finally he gets to meet her. And she happens to say, well, I've got a sweater like that, funny enough.
I can see.
Dom actually falls for her. Yeah. But there are some really funny scenes in there. I mean, good. Fiona and Dom are performing a very un-Argentinian-like tango in a restaurant. And then there's some ridiculous sex scene in the pup tent, but filmed from the outside, so all you see is the tent moving. But the other thing is that, of course, they are told that Aunt Martha has died. but it's not Aunt Martha, it's another woman named Martha, and they go to the crematorium, and Dom somehow or other gets hooked up into the coffin, and Fiona thinks that maybe he's been cremated along with her aunt, who isn't her aunt at all. So it's absolutely
An
crazy.
intriguing tale.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So it's worth going to see by the sounds of that.
It is. It's,
Yep.
I mean, it's in a mixture of French and English. I mean, I'm not a great lover of subtitles because you spend half your time looking at the translation along the bottom, not really paying much attention to what's going on screen. But fortunately, my schoolboy French was managing to cope with the French,
right.
and I didn't need to worry too much about it. But it's a thoroughly good watch.
Yes.
I would recommend it. What can I say? Nothing more than that.
Go along
really.
and enjoy it. How long is this movie?
It's about an hour. Hang on, it's about an hour and a half.
Oh, just nice.
Yep, and good fun.
Excellent.
106.3 Beach FM.